The tallest building on Earth right now stands at 828 meters. It took 6 years to build, 15,000 workers, $26 billion. And by the standards of what's coming, it's small, not slightly smaller, not incrementally taller. What is being planned and built right now makes the Burj Khalifa look like a warm-up. And the Burj Khalifa is extraordinary. If you've ever stood at its base and looked up, you know that feeling, your brain refusing to process the scale of it. A building so tall that the top third sits above the clouds on most days. A structure that, when it was completed in 2010, added more height to the world's tallest building record in a single step than had been added in the previous 50 years combined. That is the benchmark. What comes next clears it by a factor of 2. Right now, 5 buildings are being designed, planned, or constructed that represent the most ambitious things human beings have ever attempted to build. Some of them will be finished in our lifetime. Some may never leave the drawing board. But every single one of them is real. A serious proposal backed by serious money, serious engineering, and countries that have decided the way to announce themselves to the world is to build something it has never seen before. These are those buildings. Picture the Empire State Building, one of the most recognizable structures on Earth, 443 meters tall, a symbol of what New York, and by extension, America, believed it could be. Now picture 20 of them, not standing side by side, not stacked, inside a single building. That is the Mukaab. Saudi Arabia is constructing a cube in the heart of Riyadh, 400 meters wide, 400 meters tall, 400 meters deep, a perfect, colossal square, the largest enclosed volume ever attempted by any civilization in human history. Inside, it won't be offices or apartments in any conventional sense. The interior is designed to feel like a world of its own. Streets, parks, waterfalls, immersive environments where the boundary between the building and the city it contains disappears entirely. To understand why Saudi Arabia is building this, you have to understand what Saudi Arabia is trying to become. For a century, this kingdom's identity has been built on oil. The reserves beneath the desert made it one of the wealthiest nations on Earth and one of the most strategically important. But oil is running out, not tomorrow, not next decade, but the trajectory is clear, and Saudi leadership has known for years that a country whose entire economy rests on a single finite resource is a country living on borrowed time. Vision 2030 is Saudi Arabia's answer to that problem. A systematic effort to diversify the economy, to build tourism, technology, entertainment, and finance sectors from almost nothing. The Mukaab is the physical expression of that ambition, a structure so extraordinary that people will fly to Riyadh simply to stand inside it, the same way people fly to Dubai to stand at the top of the Burj Khalifa. Architecture as economic strategy. A building that doesn't just house activity, it generates it. The oldest giant sequoias alive today were already 1,000 years old when the Roman Empire fell. They have survived ice ages, floods, droughts, and centuries of human activity around them. They are the largest living organisms on Earth by volume, some of them wider at the base than a city bus is long and taller than a 20-story building. And they are dying. In September 2021, the KNP complex fire tore through the Sierra Nevada in California. In a matter of weeks, it killed somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 giant sequoias, between 10 and 20% of all the mature sequoias left on Earth. Trees that had stood since before the Norman conquest of England. Gone in a fire season. It wasn't a freak event. Climate change is making the Sierra Nevada hotter and drier, producing the fuel conditions that allow fires to burn at intensities these trees have never had to withstand before. Scientists who study them have stopped using cautious language. They are saying plainly, without intervention, the giant sequoia will not survive this century. A group of architects looked at that reality and asked, what do you do with a fallen giant? The giant Sequoia Tower concept proposes this. Take the trunks of sequoias that have already died or fallen, reinforce them internally using sustainable materials, and build human habitation inside them. Not beside them, not in spite of them, inside them. The living trunk of a 3,000-year-old tree becomes the structure of a building. Floors built into the heartwood, windows cut through the bark, observation platforms growing from the branches. It is a concept not yet funded or commissioned. But what it represents is an architectural movement that has stopped asking how we build bigger and started asking how we build better. How we create structures that don't consume nature, but exist within it. That take what's already been lost and give it a second purpose. In a video about impossible buildings, the Sequoia Tower might be the most human one of all. There is a floor in a building currently under construction in Dubai where, when it's finished, you will be able to order a drink, stand at a floor-to-ceiling window, and look down at the clouds. Not the skyline, the clouds. Because the clouds will be below you. That floor is level 126 of the Burj Azizi, the world's highest nightclub, 600 meters above the streets of Dubai. The building itself will stand at 725 meters, 131 floors, making it the second tallest structure on Earth. But the Burj Azizi isn't interesting because of its height. Plenty of buildings are tall. What makes this one different is what it does with that height. Dubai has spent 3 decades learning what makes people come and what makes them stay. And the answer consistently is spectacle combined with function. The Burj Azizi is a vertical city, an ultra-luxury shopping mall, residences, hotel rooms, restaurants, an observation deck, and at the top, that nightclub. A room where the entire point is to make you feel like you're somewhere no human being has any business being. To understand Dubai, you have to understand its geography. This city has no oil of its own. It sits in a desert with no river, no natural harbor, no agricultural land, and almost no rainfall. Everything Dubai is, it chose to be. That compulsion to build, to go further, to go higher, to do what no one else has done, isn't vanity. It's survival strategy dressed up as spectacle. The Burj Azizi is due for completion in 2028. And whatever you think about the culture that produces buildings like this, you cannot argue with the fact that it works. Japan has a problem that no amount of engineering has fully solved. It is an island, and it is full. 120 million people packed into a landmass smaller than California, and that space is under pressure. Coastal flooding, earthquakes, an aging population that needs more infrastructure in a country where the land to build it simply isn't there. So Japan's engineers started asking a different question. Not, how do we use the land more efficiently? But what if the land isn't the only option? Ocean spiral is the concept Shimizu Corporation came up with. Shimizu is one of Japan's oldest construction firms, 200 years of building at scale. What they've designed is a sphere 500 meters in diameter, sitting just below the ocean surface, housing 5,000 people. From that sphere, a spiral corridor descends 3 kilometers to the ocean floor, where a factory converts the temperature difference between deep cold water and warmer surface water into electricity, enough to power the entire city above. Self-sustaining, in theory, needing nothing from the surface. Is it realistic by 2050? Possibly. The feasibility studies are ongoing. But more than whether it gets built, Ocean Spiral tells you something important. When one of the world's most sophisticated engineering cultures starts seriously designing cities under the sea, it's because they've looked at the surface and concluded there isn't enough room up here anymore. Every era has a building that redefines what the word tall means. The Eiffel Tower in 1889, the Empire State Building in 1931, the Burj Khalifa in 2010. Each one described as impossible when first proposed. Too tall, too expensive, too dangerous, and each one built anyway. The Rise Tower is the next one. At 2 kilometers, 2,000 meters, it would be more than twice the height of the Burj Khalifa and visible from 160 kilometers away. 678 floors, designed by Foster and Partners, the firm behind the Gherkin in London, the Reichstag Dome in Berlin, the Apple Park campus in California. Not architects who take on projects they don't believe in. Saudi Arabia has opened construction bidding at an estimated $5 billion. No consortium confirmed yet, no timeline set. But the intent is real. At 2 kilometers, the engineering challenges are genuinely without precedent. Wind oscillations at that height, elevator systems that would need to function as a vertical transit network, foundation depths never before attempted. Every one of these problems is solvable. The question isn't whether a 2-kilometer tower can be built. The question is what it means that we want to. The pyramids told you something about ancient Egypt. The cathedrals told you something about medieval Europe. The Rise Tower, and every building in this video, tells you something about the 21st century, about where the ambition is, about which nations have decided that the way to announce yourself to the world is to build something it has never seen before. That's a signal. 5 buildings, 5 countries, 5 attempts to do something that has never been done. A cube that contains a city, a tower where you dance above the clouds, a civilization beneath the ocean, a skyscraper grown from a dying tree, and a structure so tall it will change what the word building means. Which of these do you think actually gets built? Which one are you most glad exists, even if only on paper? And which one, honestly, should we never build at all? Drop your answer below. If this is the kind of thing you want more of, the world is full of places, stories, and ideas stranger than anything you've been told. That's what we do here. See you in the next one.